I just thought the female form was the most amazing thing. I was collecting porn magazines in the early 80s. They looked totally different back then, by the way. It was like backlit, it was hairy vaginas, it was hairy butts. I was cutting out the ladies, putting them in a shoebox, just looking at them. They were so beautiful. And then we all know porn changed in the end of 80s. In the 90s, all the shaved vaginas. And then 2000, it was just like, you know. I don't really watch porn anymore, so I don't know what happened to it. But things. I remember how you bought the book and you kind of came through, and I think Jens and Olaf was talking, and you kind of just went, and I was like, you went, I think I just bought a swingers book, a book about swingers. So funny. I love it though. It's like, I remember quite a lot of things, and it's interesting.
Yeah, because I was thinking that was a book about like just relationship in general, but it's like, it was about having an open relationship and all that stuff. And so I never read it because it's what you know, people can do whatever they want, but for me and Jens, it's never been a question. We always just, you know, I think we're just too Danish. We just stick together.
I love that though, because you know, like with Swedes and Danes, let's just talk about it. Like Danish people and Swedish people, it's like they're so liberated. Like Swedish women are just naked all the time. They're like, woo, totally liberated, have sex from the age of 15. And then when I arrived in UK, I was like, oh my God, these pals are really filthy.
Really?
Like yeah, totally. Because everything is really loaded. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's quite, like you said, like, you know, Danish people are supposed to be really liberated and have loads of sex, but it's like, but within that, it's like you don't, well, I don't know what loads of sex is anyway, but it's not like, I think for me, the liberation, and of course, energy is energy. And so energy is tied into sexual energy, of course, because otherwise we wouldn't be here, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like the liberation possibly doesn't come in nursing uniforms and like school uniforms. You know, it's like, it's something else, you know? I don't have the kinks that a lot of people here in UK have. So funny.
It is. Oh, I didn't know they were so different, actually. And
really?
Well, I have to say, when we traveled we went to the UK in the van, and we were parking somewhere, and it was quite suspicious the way, like, the whole situation. Cars came, another car came, they all went into the bushes.
Oh, it was a dogging area.
Exactly, and they were always looking over to me, and Jensen was like, and then we started, I don't know who was it, probably Ollie, I don't know who actually told us in a really calm sense, like, that is pretty normal. And then I met a woman from the UK last year, and she said, yeah, we had like a forest nearby us when we were children. We weren't allowed to go there because there were just people having sex in the woods. So both gays and straight, and, you know, all the kind. But that's I don't think that's a thing here in Denmark. I have to Google that. But me and Emmy was just like, don't you dare come over here.
And the worst thing is, it's like, I almost understand it if it's like a pure like fetish, you know, like fetish kind of how should I put this, like underground underbelly subculture of sexuality, right? But it's quite like just married couples, quite like normal, you know, like Svensson, you know what I mean?
Andersson. I know, it's like
and I'm like, what is it with these people? It's like,
it's just the guys next door. There was nothing sexy about them, for sure not.
So listen, before we kick off or whatever, but like, how are you? Like, how what's happening? How's things?
Things are good. Like, I'm just trying still to settle into normal life, you know. Now we have like a farm, and we have 12 chickens and 2 pigs and a dog, and it's quite different from van life. And for me, I always been like a free bird, so it's just kind of, you know, getting used to this adventure. This is gonna be an adventure, and we are now looking for investors to invest in the place so we can start building. The retreat place. Yeah. Or we have to find some funds or whatever. So we are figuring out that stuff right now. But otherwise, good. You know, slowly. Yeah, just getting out of the Danish winter?
Oh my God, I know. I spoke to this week. I'm actually going to try to get a flat in Stockholm, which will be difficult. But I'm going to not move home, but we're going to have two flats because Olaf and I are still together. But I just feel like with work and my photography and again with sexuality in UK, it's like, I'm not going to say that they don't get it here, but it's just something totally different happening in Scandinavia in the sense of it's not just empowering or body positivity is beyond that, And I feel like with UK, because when I go back to Stockholm, it's like bam, 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 I'm super busy. And I come back here and people start to talk about, I speak to musicians about fees, and they're like, oh, I was thinking £150. And it's just like, oh, seriously. So I'm going to try to get a flat in Stockholm. I'm not going to try to, I will. It's going to be quite difficult, but it will work out in some kind of way. But a friend of mine just mentioned the weather and the winter. And she was like, yeah, I used to feel a bit, now I'm quite done with the darkness. And I was like, I think I forgot how dark it gets up there.
And especially Stockholm, it must get even worse. I know, like for here, I think we have like the minimum is 6 hours of daylight here, where it goes,
Okay, that's okay.
How about Stockholm?
I think I'm quite I'm not romantic, but I'm quite vemodig and sentimental about things. Totally vemod, yeah, it's so bad. Melancholy is called in English, but vemod is such a better word, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And I think they have, let's see, it gets light around 11, dark again by 2. So maybe 5 hours max, 4.5. But I kind of had these romantic feelings around that. I remember going to school and it was dark. And when I left school, it was dark. And I just remember walking through the snow in the hoods.
Exactly. But I think that it was also the thing. Back then, it was still snow. So it was not so bad because you had the light of the snow and the moon and everything. So it was okay. But now it's just like a rain season in Denmark. Yeah, and then you have the darkness as well. Yeah. But how are you then?
So which part? I mean, it's just been so much though. Because we met in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And I think, how people were talking about going back to normal, and I'm always curious about this going back to normal, what that means. And I felt like COVID period or whatever unfolded gave people, or never mind people, but gave actually in general people, but also gave me a chance to really not figure out, because it's not a head thing, but really sink into what we're all about, And I think in some kind of way it made me really subconsciously push for what I really wanted to do. So what I really want to do is, I want to share this first, talking about COVID and how I am. It's like I am, for me, to be open about pain and trauma and twilights and dark woods, outer woods, scary dark places, and inner scary dark places, is for me, that has been a way to not only process what first happened in 2016 when Olaf and I went through 2 IVFs, and at that point we already tried to create life, for 3 years.
Yeah.
So for me, my personal and private is also my professional. And it's super funny because, as an artist, people are like, women are always so private, No, hang on. Women are always so personal in their art, I mean, I don't know if you know about Stina Wolter and her journey and her paintings. It's a Swedish artist.
Okay.
She talks a lot about the body and trauma and abuse. And I was really pondering on this because actually Picasso was really personal in his art. He was really chauvinistic, you know. It's like you have all these artists, it's like super personal,
Yeah.
but subconsciously, unconsciously. So whatever you put out there anyway will be personal. For me, the personal and the professional goes together as long as I can hold that for myself. So
Yeah.
I'm not leaking. So how am I? I felt like during 2020 up to 2022, because really it's 2023. Get over it, right? Is I thought those 2 years were uh, incredible, challenging 2 years, but also very supportive in the sense of really dipping into ourselves.
Yeah.
To hold, not to hold back, but how do we maintain our days? How do we maintain our hours? How do we maintain our time? Because that would be an instant indication of where you're at in your emotional world, you know? So you know how everyone is like, I would do this, this, this if I had more time. I would do this, this, this.
Yeah.
If I wasn't working so much, I would do. I always dreamt about doing that, right? And then during COVID, everything just locked down, even in Sweden. I mean, I was in Scotland, so it was like everything just went. And what I love with that, I have loads of different parts to react on that, but one of the parts was really like, you know, when everyone was journeying for more time, and when they got the more time, what were they doing? Watching Netflix, drinking, and eating crisps, you know. And I'm not making any judgment. I'm just like, I did that too. We went through all the Peaky Blinders, me and Olaf. It was amazing. Yeah? But it's like really our dreams and our wishes. Here's my thing. Our dreams and our wishes, when we have more time, why are we not doing that with kindness? You know, why are we not doing that we think we're dreaming about? And then when we got presented all this time, loads of people here in UK anyway find themselves just drinking every day to cope. And I think it's a beautiful it's something beautiful with that, to see here is the time, what are you doing with it? Fuck, actually I'm not doing ABC. And I think that kind of awareness, if we dare watching ourselves and our behavior in these kind of times, it could give us loads of indications of where we're actually at. So going back to how I am, I felt like during COVID, something was turned up a bit. And I was like, I'm actually really going to say yes to things I want to do. I'm really going to literally head into the woods, photograph as many women and men as I can, hold retreats, do all these things that I always yearned to do. Because if I don't do it now, then it's never going to happen. And I absolutely did it with I'm quite a nervous person, you know. It's like I was scared as fuck. I was nervous.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't really apprehensive, but yeah, I get really nervous. Yeah, like super nervous. Like, oh my God, even talking about it, I can feel it.
I'm so happy you're sharing that, because I'm always shitting myself when I have to do these stuff like women's retreats or women's circles or even going on a podcast. I'm always so nervous. So
me too. I was like, before I came on here, I was like, do I have to poo again before I go on? But I have pooed already. I'm nervous all the time, yeah. And it's not that one where it's like, see the fear and do it anyway. It's like literally, I'm really nervous. And what I'm really nervous about is not that I'm going to come across like an idiot or a fool or stupid. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm nervous about losing myself, because I have lost myself so many times. So in the olden days, when I did like photography talks, I was standing talking and I couldn't hold my own space. So I felt like I'd taken a really bad ketamine tablet, right? Got chucked into the outer space, and I could just see myself talking and the mouth moving away. And the more I thought about what I wanted to say, the more stuck I got, right? So one of the things I learned is like, you know what, like just you can't premeditate what you want to say. It's a few things I want to share with you, like Twilight, not black and white, Visual Diet, Female Nipple, and the oppression of nature, because nature is powerful as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
But I think the main thing is really, and it's interesting that we're talking about that, it's like we're all in this life together, we're all in this journey, if you want to call it that. We all have our traumas and anxieties. Some people have more, some people have less. But what we have in common, everyone, is like, it's just the library isn't that great of different kind of emotions. And nervousness, I guess, is connected to anxiety, and anxiety is connected to fear. So then you just need to not work out with your head, but sit down and see what is that fear about. And my fear about this here with you is losing myself, because that's really trauma triggering, but then also letting you down. So you coming off this conversation with me and going like, oh yeah, Jannica, that was really like, that was such unnecessary chat. You know what I mean? So it's I think when we connect with those fears, then the fear is actually not as powerful anymore.
True.
But it's when we push away, it's like it comes back with revenge,
It grows bigger. So my question, how can I support you in not leaving, the body, so you stay here? How can I be supportive of that?
I think you're supportive of that already, because I work as a photographer. So even if I'm looking down here, I'm kind of always watching you in some kind of way. I'm very observant. So to keep the connection. But it's interesting that you said that, because I actually think for most adults, kids are different.
Yeah.
It's our own responsibility to support ourselves in that. Kids is different, but I think as adults, if you find that you have those defects or those kind of anxieties within, it's important for you to be able to become aware of that, to hold them. And just you asking the question, it's an interesting one, because I think just asking questions like that, or sharing, I'm nervous too before I do podcasts, creates a space where we're not only equal, because I feel that, but we're here together. Because this podcast is not just you asking me questions that I'm answering, it's a space that we're creating. And I think with those spaces, that's where the real magic unfolds, because it's all about connection and a natural flow. And the conversation that can emerge out of that, who can also support other people in their paths, on their paths, it's immense,
Yeah,
like a retreat center works like that. You're just holding the space. And to allow for things to unfold, it's the most incredible thing ever.
Yeah, true. That was so beautiful. Yeah, because my goal here today was also really just let it unfold a little bit, figuring, because I've been following you for a long time now, since we met. So that's not such a long time. It's 3 years. And I think you're such an inspiring woman, and you're so interesting. And I love the photos you did with when the blackbirds are singing, and just the work you're doing right now with your content. It's hilarious.
Oh my God.
The TikTok. That's also why I want you on here, because I love the question you asked. Let me see here. What happens when we are removed? Like, what is happening if we are not allowed to show ourselves fully? And why are we so different from men? Why can't we show our nipples on TikTok, right? Or whatever. And why are the men allowed to do it? So that is definitely one of the conversation I want to have with you, but also more about your photography and where it all started with actually taking pictures of the female body itself, like the true female body. And just, I want to get behind the scenes of you. What is going on there? What is going on? Why are you making those videos? What is your message behind this?
Shall we start with tit talk?
Let's do talk.
Let's work from here and now, and 2 days ago to maybe when I was 13 or even 9.
Okay,
So
I like
rather
that
than
journey.
going from the 70s, 80s, we go from 2023, 2023, right? Back to the 70s. So we're going to end up in the recycling rooms in the outskirts of Stockholm, where I was collecting porn magazines, yeah, to cut out the ladies when I was 9, because the women were so beautiful, yeah.
They
I
were
mean,
back then.
the naked female body is the most beautiful thing ever. It's like, it's immense. So we can all agree on that. So then we're going to talk about the naked female body and what the naked female body is allowed to do and not allowed to do and why. So let's talk about 2 days ago. I started a TikTok account in October because what happened in the end of October was that I entered a Sawing, we call it Alla Helgona. I had a death altar here in my flat, and I did a few days of silence. And in this silence, this kind of creative stream emerged, because I had already had all these visions of doing what the boys do, dancing like the boys, just doing what men can do, but do it in my way. And since I'm a photographer, as you know, so I do weddings, I do loads of events, I do loads of music events, I do promo and press for musicians in UK. I also do When the Blackbird Sings, which is my twilight photography, naked women and men in the woods. We share the twilight together, which is a short, brief moment. And in this short, brief moment, the people who walk into the twilight with me has the possibility to rest in nature. Nature and time is holding us. I'm holding the camera and I'm holding the woman or the man. And the woman and the man just let themselves drop into nature, because we are nature. We're not disconnected from nature. We're always going to be nature. It's just that we forget that sometimes. So that's my 2 branches. But the third one is being, through comedy, pointing out how fucking ridiculous it is that the female body is still so oppressed. And I can also talk about trans women and oh my God, I was about to say bipolar, but binary.
No, that's not. What is that?
Binary. I think it's binary.
Yeah, because it's so close to each other. It's so close to each other, the words. Bipolar.
I put that aside. I'm going to talk about female bodies, gay, straight, bisexual, whatever. I'm bisexual, but it's not called bisexual anymore. It's called pansexual or something else. But yeah, the sexuality, I don't give a shit. I just talk about the forms of the body that you carry.
Exactly.
So the forms also is aging bodies, hairy bodies, fat bodies. So it's not really about vaginas or penises, but it got to do with vagina and penises when it comes to the nipples. So I started the TikTok account because what I was doing on my Instagram account was that I kept on retrieving these videos where men are just dancing as they are. Oh my God, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
And I'm trying to do without being nasty, but also it's like, it's so ridiculous. It's like, I don't know why women get so much shtick for being like with the nails, because it's like, when I look at these videos of these guys, they tattooed and they're like grounding away, and you know what, Niki, I'm going to say this. I was like, did I end up on like gay TikTok? Because that's okay. Then I get it, It's like, I was like, is this some kind of underbelly of gay TikTok? They're all like bears, But no, it's straight men. So I was just like, you know what? Look, I can ground too.
Yeah,
I have tattoos,
and you did.
So I'm going to do just this, but I'm going to plaster over my nipples, because I know the nipples are like super. If you get them out, you're killed straight away.
Which is ridiculous.
So what I noticed was that I was just dancing like the guys, and my TikTok account now is stopped on 120 followers. And you see, what you need to know if you don't know about TikTok is like these accounts, they have like, you can post yourself having breakfast and you have like 5,000 followers. Your posts will have like 70,000 views. TikTok is a totally different platform where the visibility is immense. But even on TikTok, I've been penalized in some kind of crazy way, right? So
Yeah.
I don't even have any visibility. And here it comes. I don't care about me and my content. It's fine. You survive without that. But what I want to say is representation and diversity. I always talk about your visual diet, what you eat with your eyes on a daily
Exactly.
basis, unconsciously. What is the minerals and vitamins that you're lacking in your visual diet? What is it that you don't get to eat? Who is not represented? And where is the diversity? So that's number one.
Mm.
Become aware of what you eat with your eyes, because that's going to be a part of your subconscious and unconscious visual flow. So if I'm removed, if I don't even exist, right? What happens then with the younger generations of women
Exactly.
and men and their unconscious awareness around who's allowed to exist? If I can't
Yeah.
even dance, then if I can't even dance, well, the posts are, so on Instagram now, they recommend that if I remove these posts, then I get more visibility. And obviously I haven't done that. So it's not so much that they're being bad towards me and I have the community guidelines towards me. It's like, actually, I'm not even allowed to exist. So I'm going to give you this as well. I sat on a tube in Stockholm and there was this young girl next to me scrolling on Instagram. And I'm like, it would be like, who's she following, you know? So I'm looking at her scrolling away on the tube in Stockholm, and I'm like looking, and it's all young girls like her, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. Because sometimes, you know, we follow something who's not even us. You know what I mean? It's like something totally different.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this kind of feed that she's scrolling, and I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at the girls she's following, and they all young girls just like herself, like that she relates to, but not a single one got the same skin color as her. So I was like, so she's following all these young girls because she's interested. We follow what we're keen, but like, why do we follow someone? Because we want to
Yeah.
see more, but she doesn't subconsciously want to see more of her because her skin tone doesn't even exist.
Mm. Ooh, that's deep.
So if you don't even see someone who looks like you,
Yeah.
then if you don't follow someone who looks like you, who reminds you of you, then where are you in this world who's all visual nowadays, which is
Yeah.
all consist of images?
That's such a good question, because I was also, that is something I wrote down here. What does it do to young women and girls seeing all this and not being allowed to see all the body shapes, and who are deciding, who are deciding what we can see and what we can't see, and what is wrong and what is right? I think it's such a good question. I think that it's like, because even with you, like, it's such a fun video you are posting up there, and you know, you taking the piss of the guy, and but still you're not, just because you, so because they say you're sexual offensive, or what is it actually behind those videos?
Yeah, that one is the ones when I'm dancing. It's quite a few. I like that guy. They are. I mean, you love this. I can't. It's so complicated. This, but so I can't. I got my nipples covered, but I just look like him because I even made the tattoos.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And that's a sexual it's yeah, sexual action, like activities. So I'm doing sexual activities, but you see with my nipples too, we need to talk about my nipples. So I have female nipples because I have a vagina, okay?
Yeah.
But my nipples, so what, how do we identify a female nipple? Then a nipple who can breastfeed, I guess, and soothe and nurture. A nipple who can sustain life, I guess, who can breastfeed a baby. But I never breastfed. Like I never breastfed. Well, I didn't do much of that either, but I never had a baby who was sucking on my nipples. So then they're
Yeah.
not female in that sense. And now I'm 48 and I'm probably not going to have a baby ever who suck on my nipples. So I never fed a baby or nurtured a baby. And then the other part of it is like my nipples are, if I let it grow, I have a couple of wee naughty wee hairs coming out. And even for me, I'm like, oh my God, I look like a fucking troll, yeah. And sometimes I leave it because I'm like, I'm natural. But then sometimes I'm like, oh no, this is like full on,
That's too much, yeah.
I think actually, yeah, they're out. So now I have hair nipples who never had a baby. So then is that no male nipples then? How do we identify the female nipple? Do you have to have a big tit? Does there have to be a boob there? Some people don't have much boobs. Is that still a female nipple? Trans women, here it comes. So do they have female nipples or male nipples? Fucking, I don't know. And this is the conversation I think is interesting because not again, because it's like, it's the visibility. Because my videos, it's like I'm thinking about people seeing videos. My videos that I make of me dancing, they don't hardly reach anyone. They don't reach anyone because they clamped down by social media, and TikTok now finally killed me.
No,
because I made a video. I'm laying in bed on TikTok, and I made a video of me blowing up, and literally I'm like, oh, I'm just laying here in bed blowing up, and then the next thing is like this, me pumping, yeah, and that has been removed, so I can't even fart on TikTok, yeah. And I'm wondering, here it comes, I'm laughing because I think it's funny, but the other part of it is like with the anxiety behind it is like, so women, female artists can't create content as they wish. But porn is everywhere. Yeah, porn is everywhere. And it's also a lot of other content that social media think that they can't control, like bullying.
Yeah.
But if they can control me on a daily basis, surely they can clamp down on bullying, cyberbullying, and, hate speech. It's really curious. Or like, during COVID, did you say if you said anything that wasn't according to...
Oh my God, yeah.
Are you kidding? I was even talking about waxing my armpits, yeah? And it came up Instagram with COVID, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, guys, I was talking about waxing. I'm sorry about my accent. I was like, can I not even mention waxing my armpits before COVID comes? Like in the story, I wasn't even writing anything. And in the story was like, COVID, this is vaccines. And I was just like, this is insane. I'm talking about waxing here. And I think that's shocking.
It was. I remember that. I clearly remember. That was such a good video. And then you got banned because of that as well, because you were saying one word that was not allowed at this point. And this brings me back to who decides what to see and what's not to see, right? What is wrong and right? What about, and when you were saying this, I was thinking, what about man boobs? Fat men who get boobs.
Yeah.
Can they not be on there? And when did this all started that we are not allowed to see the female nipple? Because I can't stop thinking about Bali when we are talking about that. I don't know if you've been ever to Bali, but in Bali they used to only wear sarongs. That's it, like female and male, and the women always were bare-breasted until I think was the Dutch came or something like that in the 1800s. They couldn't control it, started raping the women, and they started covering themselves up. But if you go into the mountains in Bali, you will still see the older women just tits out, and it's so beautiful, and it's not sexual, it's just a part of the body. And I think when did it like go sideways here, where it's like a single little nipple? Like you said, you can be flat-breasted, you can have not being having a baby, or big boobs, small boobs. So I think it's I'm always saying to Jens, I think we should all be not allowed to wear bathing suit at the beach, so we're not sexualizing so much. So we always see naked people, like in Germany, they are naked all the time. Everywhere they can be naked, the Germans are naked. I think that's the secret behind the Germans.
I was just about to say that, because I think if we're going to talk about that with my work, when the blackbird sings, and the woods, and nakedness, and TikTok, and nipples. I think, and you just said it though, it's like the colonialization of the body. And colonialization demands, it's about power, taking over power. So the more you colonize the body and oppress the body and hide the body, the more power you obtain. And then the best way of obtaining this power is to get people themselves to think that they have to cover up, yeah? Because that's how you actually colonize the mind of these people. Most women, for example. I mean, to be honest, in Sweden now, I've been talking about Sweden like here in UK, like, oh yeah, Sweden, they're all naked and they're really relaxed about being naked and yada yada. And I went to Stockholm during the summer. And Niki, I had this thing. I was like, I'm just going to have my tits out not in the pool, of course. I don't like the tits out in the pool, but every time I sit by like the pine trees, you know, tallarna in the sun. If I swim in the lake, if I swim in Mälaren, if I swim in skärgården, the archipelago, I'm just going to be boobs out. Dude, I was the only one, and some kind of old granny, you know, born in the 50s. Do you know what I mean? I was like, what the hell is going on? Kids even have tops on, yeah?
I know.
And I was like, I went out with my brother's daughter, and she's 10. And I said to her, and this is really important because I don't want to be that old lady who shamed the wee kids, you know. I said to Tila, I was like, just so you know, I'm going to have my boobs out when I swim because that's what I'm doing this summer. And I didn't want to shame her because she's because she has a top, you know. And I said, you can do whatever you want to do. I can do whatever I want to do. And that's the main thing. And she was kind of like, And then when we got down to the beach, it was a guy with bigger boobs than me. And I was like, look at him, Tila. And she was like, what? And I was like, do you not think he got bigger breasts than me? And she kind of looked at me. She's like, yeah, definitely. And I was like, why is he not wearing a top then?
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's like to really remove all the shame and the apprehension and the trauma sits in every single woman's chest. I mean, who hasn't had the boobs squashed, you know, in that way that we don't want to?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, it's really important to talk about this because it got to that point that we just normally cover up now. And I'm so against that because actually it's about covering up age. It's about covering up weight, you know, it's about covering up everything who got to do with life itself. And when we cover up life itself, we are removing the power that our bodies actually hold, which is these amazing structures who's creating this possibility for us to go through a kind of short life of exploring, smelling, seeing, hearing. The more we cover up all these sensations, the less we're alive. And why, here it comes, why the body has been colonialized is because we need to control the body. Because if we don't control the body, if we, especially women, sit back and go like, you know what, look at that, boob, you know, look, I'm good enough as I am. I'm a little bit fat here. I'm a little bit wrinkly here. I don't need to buy that cream. I don't need to buy those trousers to push in my stomach. I don't need this. If I just feel comfortable, if I'm not happy, forget about happy. If I'm just comfortable as I am, what will happen with the whole capitalistic system?
Oh, I got goosebumps when you just said that. My whole body just reacted like.
Imagine if you were just like, I'm okay as I am.
Yeah.
I don't care about being enlightened and happy. Imagine if you were just like, you know what, I'm all right as I am. I'm just alive. I'm ticking away. I'm bleeding. I'm not bleeding. I'm all right. What would happen with the world?
Ooh.
For men too, by the way. For men too.
Yeah.
What happened?
I think we would just be much more relaxed and not running so fast. I don't have the answer to this, but I can just, when you say the words, what my body is just, my nervous system is just like, oh, hell, give that shit to me. That would be awesome because No more comparison, no more, look at her, she's prettier than me, or look at her, or whatever, no more, like, the bullying will fall away in many places, because it's a lot of it is all attached to the body, what we are bullying each other with when we are younger, right? Or also as adults. I don't know. What do you think? What would happen?
What came up when you were talking was that I think it's not just you and me here. It's like generations of women before us who wasn't worthy, who wasn't enough, who wasn't lovable, who talked about the bodies in a really I was about to say negative way, but like in a really shitty way. I don't want to use the words positive and negative because that gets really fuel to. It's okay. We don't need to shame the shame that we hold. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's layers that need to be healed of hatred towards the female body. I have it too. Do you know what I mean? I actually, to be honest, through my I always loved the female body. Like I always loved looking at it, like most men, like a free holiday across the butt, the boobs, the cleavage. It's like we all like love to gaze and just like I said, a free holiday across the female body. And I think that's also important to. That's a learned behavior for me. It's like who am I to be like, down the back, over the chest. It's not right and wrong. It's just how do we treat bodies? When do we objectify and make it sexualized, and when do we not? Because also my images, when the blackbird sings images, someone was like, "Oh, it's really nice because um they're not sexualizing," and then I was thinking maybe they are sexualizing, but in a way that we don't even know about. The sheer power behind living, pulsating, bleeding, not bleeding bodies, the sheer weight behind this amazing thing called human laying on the ground, pushing down the moss, the leaves, some mud, it's maybe that is the sexualized that we don't even know about. I mean, we just learned most things we think is sexy through porn in that kind of way. And what I think would happen if I was good enough, I don't know what would happen. I just know when I grew up, I got my menstruation when I was 13. I didn't have any problems. I wasn't shamed or anything. I thought it was quite cool. But then I remember not having tits until the age of like 15, maybe. And I was called Plank at school, right? And I remember being like, feeling like, when people called me Plank. I was totally aware of it, but it was mostly guys. And I was only like 12, 13, 14. I remember I guess it was anxiety behind that.
Yeah.
And what I feel with just being enough, and I'm sure that's also fueled by trauma and maybe growing up in a family where maybe confidence wasn't on the top of the list. I'm sure loads of other kids would respond in a different way, but you see, trauma for me is not just a family. It's like those Russian dolls. It starts on a tiny wee level between you, your mom, and your dad, and then the siblings, and then the family, and then the society, the city you live in, and then the country, and then the world. So it's no one's fault. It's levels of it. And what I think will be different, actually, Niki, what I'm trying to say is that I think if we didn't have all that never being enough, never being lovable, never being, or we're lovable, but we're not enough though. We could always be better. It's always a chase. It's always one wrinkle that you don't like. It's always something towards aging and growing up that you try to pull back. And I think it's a waste of energy. I think it's if we could sit back, we would move forward in a way that we can't even imagine, in actually not being so bogged down by anxieties and shit that really doesn't matter in life. I think we miss a lot with the bigger picture of life because we're so in this, the the makeup didn't work out there, or fucking, I don't know, voice, or, guys and the muscles. I'm like, actually, I don't even know what that is. It's like building, building, building. Sure, it's good to be fit, but it's like, for
Yeah.
what? We're going to die anyway.
Yeah, where's the fine line between fit and showing off almost? Like it's yeah, it becomes a little bit hollow. I also feel like if you're just in the gym all the time trying to be there to impress somebody. I understand if you're there to get healthy and everything, but it's like you just said, it's like missing the point of being here. And we are here in such a short time, and we are actually using a lot of that time worrying about the looks.
Yeah, totally.
Shit.
And I think the main thing is to become aware of it, because again, I don't want to shame it. It's like when we have these worries, and they look different, but they kind of similar. It's funny how you said gym, because what I was thinking was you want to show off, but then just when you said those words, I was thinking, because you want to show off, you want the better, you want people to see you, because actually you're really struggling with seeing yourself. It's something like that, or covering up for something that you don't want to see.
Yeah. And that brings me a little bit back to what you said about the whole COVID situation and, the time we had. And you said something about a lot of people started drinking instead of using actually the time. I think using the time for what they want in life. And I think the time was also there where people were actually discovering themselves. They were alone with themselves. They were alone with their partners. And the world stopped for a moment. And I think actually a lot of people were figuring out, oh shit, oh shit, this. I think that was the first time in a long time they felt themselves, and I think a lot of people panicked in that situation as well. Yeah, and then started drinking instead, or whatever, instead of actually looking at themselves. And it's a little bit sad also, this story, a little bit, I think, because it's where are we? Where did we end up here? How did we end up here? Because I don't feel like, again, I'm going back to the Balinese, because I don't feel like they have the same sense on the body and everything like we have. Like they don't have like the same obsession. They will though, because now they have Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. But because when I started coming there so many years ago, it was, the internet was still wonky, and they were just living their life on the little island there. So it's interesting. How did we end up here?
Well, I know even when no Instagram, I didn't have it. I know when Facebook, I had my photography on Facebook for years.
Yeah.
And it was around 2016. So my grand died in the start of 2016 when we were supposed to start the IVFs in Stockholm. And that summer, I remember Facebook giving me a 30-day span. Something was turned up in 2016. It must have started in 2015. And I know Trump came in. Trump came in 15, maybe the end of 15, 16. If I
don't
remember right.
Yeah.
Something shifted anyway, because I had loads of images removed. And I think it seems like, so it's about control, and it's about keeping power structures in place, and it's about companies making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then it's about on the individual level, because also, of course, you have to understand that during COVID, I wasn't like, well, I did go for walks every day, to be honest, but I wasn't like, I'm doing yoga every day. I wasn't doing all the things that maybe I wanted to do either.
No.
But I think how we ended up here is like, well, I think what happens now, the next step is that people don't have to open TikTok accounts and have the tits out like me, but we really have to talk about this, because it's getting to a point where anything who got to do with the natural body is getting deleted. And it's something with time and aging and nature and being totally connected to nature, which seems really threatening to the power structures in place. So, for example, social media, on loads of different levels. I mean, I need to share this too. Like when the Blackbird Sings has a list of images. Oh, you love this, by the way. So I got a list of images on when the Blackbird Sings, my Instagram account, of images to be removed, right? Check these images. Your head is going to explode. And they were like, you have to remove these images, and then we will recommend your account, and your account will turn up on Explorer. And I thought, okay, so they don't even recommend my account. It doesn't turn up on Explorer. So I'm going to remove these images. I removed an image of me and two friends dancing around the fire during in the full moon. No, and all these images, there's no vaginas or tits showing. It's just bodies. So I removed the image of three women dancing around the fire naked. I removed the image of a daughter and her mom, but you can't see anything because the mom is laying down in moss and the daughter is just curled over. Women around the fire, daughter and a mom. I removed women in a circle, naked bodies sitting together.
Oh.
And God, let's see, I can't remember the need to go back to my Instagram. And then there was something else really symbolic. So I removed these images because I was like, you know what, I just want to have some more visibility because I want to be able, here it comes, I want to be able to reach people with my images who hasn't seen my images. I want to be able to tell people who hasn't heard about the twilight that everything exists. It's not positive or negative. You're not healthy or unhealthy. Everything, all of you exist. So I removed these images and they gave me another list of images to remove.
No.
And that is the pictures of, so then one of the images who came up on this list, one of the images is Olaf. He's a 50-year-old man with white hair. He's laying in the autumnal leaves. It's the end of September. We're in the archipelago in Sweden. What you see around him is fern, the yellow fern, the red leaves. What you see of Olaf is just his gray hair, his back, and the side of his body. They want me to remove that image. Another image, and I'm going to write about that, who comes up and they bring up all the time, is a aging couple. They're only in their 60s, but both of them got white hair. It's a man and a woman. The only thing you see is the naked backs and the arms holding each other, and heather and a stone behind. And that image seems to be really offensive. You don't even see the asses, yeah? And why I think it's offensive is they don't look like supermodels. They're clearly aging. They're close, and they just as they are in nature, breathing, resting in stillness. And coming back to where we were earlier on, I just come back to us humans in our natural state, breathing, pulsating, thinking, feeling, as we are. We're the most, like if we can tap into this, how we are part of all this, the leaves changing colors, that's also us. The rain, the wind, the waters, the moons that we have inside us, until it's just a dark sky with no more moon. It's like if we tap into that energy, again, here comes the whole world would change. It's like it would just be, and when I say the whole world would change, I firstly mean our inner world. We would just, I don't know what we would focus our energy on, but it would just do that change, you know. And I think during COVID, coming back to that, I think a lot of people did dip into something deeper. If that was more anxiety, then that's okay too. We're not here to be happy. It's like it's just awareness about how deep is that black lake of trauma, pain, and also possible creativity. Because I think it's all in together. And possibly something like that unfolded for most of us, I hope.
Yeah.
And then we do live in a world, there's Monday to Friday, where following your moon cycle is difficult since the outer world doesn't do that. We live in, you're here and you're supposed to get better, and then you're at best when you die. But really, everything is like this. We just doing turns. And the older I get, like in one way, going back to the 70s and 80s where we started. So I loved, I don't even know why. I just thought the female form was the most amazing thing. I was collecting porn magazines in the early 80s. They looked totally different back then, by the way. It was like backlit, it was hairy vaginas, it was hairy butts. I was cutting out the ladies, putting them in a shoebox, just looking at them. They were so beautiful. And then we all know porn changed in the end of 80s. In the 90s, all the shaved vaginas. And then 2000, it was just like, I don't really watch porn anymore, so I don't know what happened to it. But that's where I started. And then all through that with my photography, I remember standing in the dark room when I was 13, and I was really obnoxious when I was 13 and a troublemaker. But I remember developing images, and I had this piece inside me. And then blah, 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 life carried on. And then I ended up here in Scotland, where I studied anthropology and criminology in Stockholm, and I was thinking about becoming a police officer, and then I didn't. I went to Edinburgh instead, and I took loads of drugs, and I partied nonstop for a couple of years, and then I studied photography. So I came back to what I've always been into, which is forms, images. I like looking at things. And when I did my photography in 2002, 2003, I was photographing my friends naked, and it was a bit Nan Goldin, Corinne Day inspired. I just knew what I liked doing. But actually, you know what, Niki, I stopped it because I became aware of that I was just doing what the boys are doing, watching the female body in that way, because it is gorgeous. I left nude photography for years to reassess where my not so female gaze were at. And then when the Blackbird Sing started in 2016, I had my first menstruation of my second IVF on the 16th of October 2016. I went down to the Water of Leith here in Edinburgh for the new moon to do a ceremony with a friend of mine, because I was just really utterly fucking fed up with all these fertility attempts. I mean, it's mental. It's like you go through your whole life and you're trying to not get pregnant, and then when you want to get pregnant, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And I was feeling all this grief and loss, and I had these fertility dolls from South Africa that I had under the bed for like a year. Clearly they didn't work, so I was like, I'm going to burn these fucking dolls. I was burning them, but they didn't really burn up properly. So when they were floating down the Water of Leith, the heads were half burnt, and I was just like, oh my god, I can never get pregnant now. But my friend said, bring your camera, take pictures of me naked. And the new moon, it was a super new moon in Scorpio, happened exactly at twilight. So all this unfolded really organically. So I brought a camera, and I was like, oh, I haven't photographed anyone naked for years. I brought the camera. The super new moon was during twilight. We took the pictures. And when I saw these pictures, I was like, wow. Firstly, I was like, something happened here. I could feel it. I didn't know feel comfort and soothing from my pain. I was also inspired in a different way. So I went home to Olaf and I said, I'm going to do what we've done for 4 years, almost 3.5 years. At every full and new moon, I'm going to go into the twilight with and I photographed nature as well, not just women, with a human or photographing nature, and I'm going to do this for a year to exhibit. So that's really how it happened. And then after the exhibition, it became a thing. So people booked me for twilight sessions. But what happened during the year was that I looked at so many females in the natural habitat, in nature, without all these cultural references of fashion, if we're married or not, just as we were. And the only thing I see when I do these sessions is forms and shapes in the twilight. And I see the twilight, the blue hue, shining and reflecting off the body. I see genuinely, not just like body positivity, I see genuinely how we're all totally beautiful. And when I say beautiful, it's like totally powerful, like fat backs, folds coming down, looking like drapes at a theater, skinny backs where you see the ribs. It's all totally powerful and gorgeous. And through doing this work, coming back to me and my naked women, I also healed my own inner eyes around the female body. So I actually know, like, a few months ago, I was sitting doing some yoga pose and I looked down at my butt. And you know, when your bum squeezes out on one side, yeah? And I looked down and I'm really skinny, you know, but I looked at the butt and I was like, it was really dimply with, what is it called?
Cellulite? Yeah.
Cellulite,
I
yeah.
think so, yeah.
And here was my first, and I'm like, oh, thanks fuck. Here was my first thought, and I love this. It wasn't like, oh, well, all bumps are beautiful bumps. It was like this. Wow. I was like grappling for my phone. I was like, it looks like the moon. Oh my God, it was totally white with these big dimps in there, like the moon, like the full moon. And the first thing that came up was like, fuck, look, oh wow, it looks like the moon. I have a moon ass, yeah. And you know, I feel fucking liberated because in the sense of like, if I made a judgment, that would have been okay too. But I just became of that my inner gaze turned into an 11, 12-year-olds, a non-broken gaze that just see female bodies in like, wow, look at this. Oh my God, look, she's hairy down to her thighs. I love that because otherwise it becomes all bodies are beautiful. You know, it becomes a fake thing. So like seeing bodies, instead of making judgments, try to find that place of awe. It's called awe, you know.
Yeah.
Förundran. Förundran is such a good Swedish word when it comes from a place where it's like, oh, wow, you know, because it is wow. Really fat bodies. Oh my God. Wow. Really skinny. I mean, you don't want to be super unhealthy and dying, but it's kind of incredible. And to come back to that place for me is it's 2023. It's not about good or bad or adjusting or pro this or anti that or ally this. It's about coming back to the old, you know, the förundran, to come back to what life is really about. We only have this moment, you know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
This is our moment. Hopefully I get to have more moments with you, but this is our moment. Like, oh, I get like emotional when I think about it. Why are we wasting it? You know what I mean? It's like, why are we wasting this moment? Because we have lots of trauma. We can't blame ourselves. Yes, I get that. But when are we going to step up and take responsibility? Not only for the trauma that the whole world is suffering, but our own inner pain. Because somewhere among this, it's like, if we don't find back to that kind of 10-year-old, 11-year-old who is collecting porns, I'm not sure if that's right though, then what are we doing? And that's what I wanted to say with aging. I don't think I have many moons left inside me. I have plenty of moons outside. I'm going to walk in and visit and explore with other women. But like the more moons that is disappearing with my eggs, the younger I become inside me when it comes to finding excitement and how incredible things are without adding shit. We don't need to add so much stuff. I totally went off topic.
No, you didn't. It was so beautiful. I'm just so right. Like, we just have to be here in the moment and accept how that our bodies are so different, right? It was just so beautiful. I even got a little tear in my eyes here. I don't know if we went up topic. I don't think so. Because that is the topic. It's like accepting ourselves. But it's
Do you accept yourself, Niki?
If I do accept myself, oh my God, what a question. That is I think I struggled so much with my body all through my life. I had a eating disorder when I was younger, and I don't. No, to be completely honest, I don't accept all of myself. I don't like how my body looks. I do feel like I have the same thing. I have like these, my ass also looks like the moon.
But imagine when your ass looks like the moon, right? So here's my thing that came up with my ass that looks like the moon. So then I was like, here it comes. Am I now supposed to buy creams for, I mean, if you get a cream for £10, it's not going to work. It needs to be like 70 quid or £50, right? How many creams am I going to buy to get rid of the moon, right?
Exactly.
Is the moon even going to go away? So then am I going to operate the moon to get rid of the aging on my ass? Yeah. Like, look at this whole system. It's fucking mental, yeah?
It's so
It's
mental.
like, and who's looking at your moon anyway? Jens. I'm quite sure he doesn't give a shit if the moon is like the moon or if it looks like a 12-year-old. I think this is super interesting. I think it's a massive conspiracy towards the female body.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I think we have internalized this so bad that actually it sippers into self-hatred, right? And it becomes something else. So what is it like? So you have the moon ass, but like, do you think honestly, do you think you would be happy if you had this smooth butt? Yeah. Do you think so?
No, I don't think so. And I would never go down the road of, buying all the creams. I have been down the road when I was younger, but now I'm also, oh my God, because we do a lot of, what do you call it? We go to the naked beaches and we go naked camping and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also see the other bodies, and everybody has a moon butt. So I think it's just, for me, it's years of just hating my body and myself and just not feeling good enough and not being, looking like my best friend when we were younger. She was just so tall and so, so well, she just looked so beautiful. And it's just, for me now in my 30s, I can really feel like I'm giving, yeah, time is too short for this. So I do.
Yeah, it's also, I just wanted to say that it's beautiful because when you're talking about it, you talk about, so I can't even remember, you're not even that short though, if I remember right. I'm definitely short.
No, I'm short.
How tall are you?
159.
I'm shorter than you.
Are you shorter than me?
Yeah, I'm like 156, yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I love that. But the thing is, when you were talking about it, what I think is super interesting is I wonder what the layer underneath not being as tall as your friend means. What is the form of the layer underneath? I'm not like her. I'm not as tall. So the length doesn't matter. It's something with I'm not like her. And then I wonder what your friend, symbolically, of course, holds that you're yearning for that you didn't have. And I think it's super important actually to dip into that, because what did your friend have that you thought your friend had that you didn't have? Because it's not about the length, because that's just things, and that's förgängligt. It doesn't really matter. It's just something that is lacking, isn't it? I think Absolutely. The body got to do with something we're yearning for, something is lacking, and often I guess it's some kind of form of being seen / being loved, being held. The other part of the body, I think the female body, is that we punish, So I also had eating disorder, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I never did anything with eating until the age of 19. So I wasn't like a kid who was like, I was actually just quite comfortable in my body, even if I was a plank. But then around 18, 19, I finished gymnasium. And then things happened in the family, and I moved out, and I wanted to grow up quick. So then I got myself to survive that, I guess. I felt immense lack of control, and I was still really young. So then I thought I'm going to control my food. And I went to South Africa. So I stayed in South Africa in 1994, which was mental. So even there, you know, as the only being 19 and like in a totally new place, the only thing I could hold on to was the food. And I think with the food, it becomes the body is it's being seen, being held, being loved. The other one is control, and control is coping, isn't it? And surviving. So it's also a form of actually just coping, which
Yeah.
negative or positive, I don't want to use those words, but actually most things we do is just to cope. And that's kind of a positive thing after all, you know. So I think then the female body takes a lot of punishment and hatred, but then we also get fed that from all our visceral diet, you know. So even if you feel okay, look, hairy nipples, not bad. Like I say, actually, I'm okay with that. But if I showed someone this, they would be like, "Eh, that's disgusting." So it's even if I'm okay with that, I don't know if you can see this one here. Maybe not. Let's see.
Oh, is it a black?
No, I have a mole. Let's see,
Yeah,
where is it? I have a mole there, and
yeah.
that one got black witch here.
Me too, I think.
Have you got one too? I'm just giving this as an example, right?
Yeah.
And this is amazing because now the hair is quite long, and I'm looking at this, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like seriously, that hair I pulled out for years because you can't have a hair. No one can have a hair mole, right? Like you look like a witch. It's like totally disgusting. And actually, when I look at it now, I'm like, I don't even know why I pulled this out. It's like a hair coming out of a mole. Yeah, but I remember how disgusting that looks. You can't have a hair mole. Why not? Like seriously, why not? And I think this symbolically is what I'm saying to you with eating disorders, with the journey of is one part of it is like it's within us. The other part is also something that is outside us. So it's that kind of consideration of you're not as tall as your friend. I'm still quite curious about what that means if you're tall.
I do think, but it's quite. I think it's quite interesting you picked up on that, because I think for me, she was always carrying a sense of confidence, and she was quite, people looked up to her. She was quite pretty compared to me, or that's how I saw it back then. So I think it was just this confidence she was actually showing, and I think when you're tall, you can even more embrace that. But when you're small, it's a different story. So I think it was the confidence she had, and the way people looked at her. And I was
Okay.
just, I was quite small, quite fat, and I didn't really figure out yet to control my curls. So it was just a different story. And then, yeah, but it shifted. It did, because it was all an illusion. She wasn't that confident. And when we got older, and I used my personality instead to get, to build the confidence. It just changed. And where I was lacking then, she's lacking now, because it was just hidden behind beauty and being tall. There is something about being tall. Actually, you come into a room in a different way, but it's an
And the worst
interesting
thing is it's totally culturally connected. Firstly, you said people were looking up on her, so
Yeah.
that makes me think that you felt like people were looking down on you. And then another thing you said about your hair controlling, it's funny how you even talk about controlling yourself and your hair, because clearly when you have curly hair, it's wild. And I think the wildness in especially women, the uncontrollable kind of energy, is the worst enemy of the world we're living in. But just so you know, with the whole hand, here's a culture visual diet reference for you. If a really tall woman is coming into a room in Scotland, UK, I'm just talking about this island, then she would be hunched over. She'd be hunched over because she's very uncomfortable being taller than all the guys. And the guys often have something to say about her being tall. So UK is all about being short. So again, what you're talking about there, because I know I'm Swedish, and it's like, the tall, the beautiful blonde Swedish women. I was like, like a wee troll, It's like it's also culturally connected. But even when you describe your hair, you're describing when the blackbird sings, tame, wild, controlled. It's
Yeah.
all natural. And I'm all, as you can see, for makeup, do your nails, do tattoos. I'm not saying you have to be totally natural, but what I'm saying is we had to be totally connected to our natural states. So if you wax your vagina, I don't care, or if it's bushy, but please, if you can make these decisions, not what you've been taught, but from your heart or from your soul, then just anything goes. But like, even with curly hair, dude, I always wanted curly hair. The only thing I wanted was big curly hair, right? Look at me, I'm like, eh. And my hair was so straight when I was a kid that even the hair bands fell out. Yeah. The only thing I
Oh,
wanted was curly hair. We always want something that we don't have, right?
exactly. Yeah. I love my
And I
hair
think,
by.
oh my God, your hair's so good.
Thank you.
But
I
I
think
think it's like talking about the things, these really personal stories, for me, it's not just a way of maybe processing it, but it's also sharing it makes it much less powerful for outer energies to snap up and use in a capitalistic society.
that's
Something
true.
like that.
That's why I love my I do online women's circles now every month, every new moon, and actually sharing just topics about, from menstrual cycle to the body, all kind of stuff we don't talk about. And it's so nice to hear other women just having, the same issue, the same happiness, the same struggles. It's just nice to open up these conversations. And this is also why I wanted you on the podcast today, because I feel like you are really taking on these topics and bringing them out to light. We need to talk about shit. We need to talk about you have it trying to get pregnant, miscarriage, all that stuff. It needs to get out into the world, because we have made it such a big secret to be a woman. Even some of us even don't know, our genitals. We don't know how, it looks like down there. We need to talk about this shit. And that's why you on here. Because
And thank you.
yeah.
And also, I was thinking when you were talking about the women's circles, it's like I sat in quite a few, and I noticed that um, hating yourself, um, hate, how should I put this? So what I think is really important, and that's why I really got hold of what you were talking about, your body and eating disorders and stuff, because it's if we shame that we're feeling shame about ourselves, if we shame that we hate ourselves, if we shame that we're not as we wish we were, then we're never going to get to these juicy diamonds of fucking pure female power, and that has been taken away for centuries. It's like we have to allow ourselves to hate, blah 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 blah, talk about the moon, talk about all these things, to then deepen down within that. Because as long as we're brushing away on the surface, I knew I didn't want to do body positivity. It's really good that people do that, but like I knew I didn't want to do, like, I had to go into nature, I had to go into twilight to get hold of this, the genuine power that exists in nature itself. Because if I brush over that and go like, all bodies are beautiful, all no, aging is nothing, like I had to go into myself and really examine my own gaze to be able to create this kind of work. And this is why I think with sharing stories, it's like, that's when you were talking, I wanted to really get hold of when you were, when they were looking up on her. I'm also wondering if it was jealousy there, like envy, because,
Of course.
it's like, because these kind of conversations, they're fundamental piece for our not only liberation, but for creativity to flow and actually genuine community to come together. We can't make up communities of light workers and witches, and we're all the same substance. And I think that's where we find the kind of the biggest kind of source of pure, let's call it feminine/masculine power. It's like to be really as authentic as you can be.
Yeah, true. Very true. So how do you feel about yourself, your body and aging?
Oh God, that's I'm just going to get a bottle of wine. I have loads of different parts of me who feels loads of different things. My 48-year-old part who walked this path for 48 years, who been in therapy, who done loads of different things trying to connect my emotions to the memories I have. I'm just checking in. Has certain kind of ideas about myself, but how do I feel about my body? It's funny with my body. Here it comes. So I was used to and well, actually, I was about to say I didn't self-harm, but actually with the eating when I was 19 up to maybe 23 was attacking and self-harming thing. But my body itself, it's interesting, has always been really, my body has been a little bit like this, right? You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to be around the same weight forever, right? So my body is really, I'm quite embodied in that way. My body is just like, yeah, just don't eat anything for 2 weeks. So I'm not going to lose that much weight, or eat shitloads and I'm not going to put on that much. And even if you puke, then I'm just going to stick with me. So my body is like, it's an interesting part. It's like obviously me, but it's kind of balanced. But I think for me, my journey and a certain kind of fragmentation of me is like I'm really trying to integrate and bring all these parts together. So how do I, like, my body is, need to answer this properly or like in an honest way. I know I trust my body to actually hold me rather than me holding my body. So I really trust my body to hold me, and I have periods like when I'm like pure smoking, like rollies, coffee in the morning, and then I have periods when I'm like, okay, now this is a little bit too much of addiction. So I'm trying to rail that in and hold that for myself. Otherwise, I just feel like a totally addict, and half of my family is, so I don't need to join that team, So I try to really put trust into my body. And you see, the playfulness and what I can achieve with my body, from an artistic point of view, is like, I guess I really honor that so much that I'm really giving my body a break. I know when I was much younger, like through that period, I was like trying to control the body. I feel like it's not about being happy or not. I just think it's an incredible tool. We got hands, Like I have a sore shoulder from shooting too much, but like we have mouths and we're talking. It's
okay.
Yeah,
but you said shooting. I'm like, oh yeah, you're a photographer. Who the fuck did you shoot?
No, I mean photographer. No, we're not shooting. We're photographing. I've been photographing so much, and so how I feel in my body is, I feel like it would be almost like a dishonor to not honor it in that way. Yeah, it's a really quite big question, to be honest. I find it quite difficult to answer that. Because I don't think it's about being happy or not, though. It's like I feel myself, I can feel like I have parts on my back on my lungs where I feel tight. That's how I feel my body, It's I don't know, like I actually don't give a shit anymore. I could definitely be taller, but I don't care. I could be like, when people have these wrinkles, that's just pretty. I'm getting these things coming down now.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, like I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I like that.
I just want to make nice work.
Yeah. No, no, I see. I think also I like that. I like that you It seems like you are at peace with it, and you know, you have some aches and stuff like that, you know, with your shoulders, but you seem mostly just at peace with yourself.
Hmm. We're just joking.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What should I have asked you I didn't know enough to ask? So is there a question? Is there something on your mind you think, oh, Niki, I really was sitting with this. Can
That's really interesting. So what I like to talk about is how amazing nature is. I like to talk about how we all had trauma. And some people just don't know they had trauma. Some people had more, some people had less. And within the trauma, you can find the unique diamonds that makes us, right? I like to talk about visual diet. I like to talk about how the female body is that powerful that it's actually being clamped down on social media. What did you not ask me about? You didn't ask me enough about you. I wanted to talk more about you, but that's possibly next time because I think as well, I know it's a podcast and it's about my photography and visual diet and TikTok, but also for me, what I feel when we hung up is that I felt like I wanted to hear more about you
yeah,
because I can't talk about me without bringing you on board more, to be honest. So then, and I didn't step in and ask too many questions because I know you invited me to this podcast. But for me, it's 2023. It has all changed. A podcast is not about the person you're inviting, it's also about you.
exactly. And I think I think we are going to have a second podcast, you and me, and going a little bit deeper in, and we could maybe much more have a conversation just about because I want to talk a little bit more about the female body, but also maybe about, you know, the whole story about you trying to get pregnant, and we could go deeper into some details there. I think that will, because I think we quite on the same page. I think we both very different women, but I think we are very much on the same page about, you know, coming back to nature, feeling ourselves and taking it more slow and just feeling how it feels to be in this meat suit, like I say, in here and now, and the question again about what it is to be a woman now and why are we still being held back in a sense.
Yeah.
So another question for you. I love this question. Tell me something that is true for you that almost nobody else agrees with you on.
It's true for me, but almost nobody else agrees. Okay. So when you ask me that question, I think about things that feels true to me, but then that I also almost don't agree about because so the statement would be quite a bit more extreme, right? Because otherwise it wouldn't have that kind of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So someone else doesn't agree, then it would be a statement that triggers me too. But it sings true. The thing is, I love this because I might be walking the woods with naked women, you know, I might be doing ceremonies, but like I'm actually not a very extreme person. I'm not a very right and wrong person. I'm absolutely not left wing or right wing. I'm absolutely I change opinions quite often, to be honest. I have a totally constant me, but I'm very reasonable. I am not kidding, yeah. So I don't have many extreme opinions. COVID, for example, I don't believe it didn't exist or existed. I just believe that people couldn't tell their stories. And within COVID, it was just like Twilight. People had loads of different experiences, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe you have to take 5 injections or none, you know. I just believe you could just do whatever you need to do. You know, it's like whatever makes you feel safe and then see what happened now, right? So my opinion that provokes me mostly that maybe a lot of people wouldn't agree about, but then I actually think it's a whole gang of people who totally agree is possibly that if you're an adult, it's difficult to say this because a part of me is just like, can't be like that. But here's it comes. If you're an adult, this is not for kids. is that you are truly responsible for your life yourself. And what I mean with that is, obviously with help of support, there are systems that you can get support from. And I know we all, especially women, are fucking great at being victims because we have been victims. Loads of different levels of victimhood, everything from rape to just fiddle, right? Or bad comments, or she's cute, like that, right? But I think for women, we really need to feel your victimhood, känna att du är ett offer, feel that, go through that and heal that, because you're never ever, it's not going to take away that you haven't been a victim, but you are utterly responsible for your life. If you have all these reasons why you can't do things in life, then it's unfortunately your job to step in and step up into your life. And it sounds super sharp and harsh. And I know exactly how difficult that is, because actually it's other parts within you is just like, utmattad or exhausted or burnt out. I get that. But actually, then just be burnt out, and then you're happy. Then you go like, I'm just burnt out, and then you stick with that. But it's like your life, don't aim for things that you don't really want to get to.
Yeah. I love that. You stole my truth.
It's so harsh though, isn't it? But it's so true.
I tell you a little story. When I came to Bali, I blamed everybody for my misery, right? My parents, my the accident I've been through, and everything. Everything in my life that happened was happening to me, and it was everybody else's fault. And then I saw this healer, and her name was Bobby. I had some candida I needed to get rid of, and she was doing that, and I was laying there and complaining my way. And then she just looked at me. How old are you? Like 24. You're old enough to take responsibility for your own life now. You need to get your finger out of your ass and get going, girl. And I was like, fuck, I didn't even know that was a thing. It's just that comment just shook me to the core, because I didn't even, like, it didn't occur to me I had to be responsible for my own life. And that just changed everything. And I went back to her because she was 60 something. She could do whatever to me, say what she wanted, because, older women, you just listen to them. And when they're wise and have been through things in life, and when they say things, it's the fucking truth. and she taught me so many things. But oh my God, when I went home that day, I was like, oh shit. Fuck. Damn it. What now?
Because I know, and it's so tough, isn't it? And the thing is, of course, we get stuck in that everything bad happened to us, and actually bad things happens too, and actually not for a reason sometimes. I just want to say that, and it's not like you brought on board because your subconscious energy, like, forget about all that shit. But the point is, bad things happen to you, to all of us, when we were too young to take responsibility for it, because we couldn't. So we were just surviving, and that is stuck within us. And I totally get it, and I say with kindness. But the point is, it's like, and I'm not saying that you can just get out of it, or like, poof, it's like, it's through therapy, it's loads of different things you can do. But it's like somewhere along the line, I'm like this, when people go talk about not going to the gym or going to the gym, I'm like, I don't give a shit if you go to the gym or not. What happens in between? I would love to do this, but then you never do that, and I'm talking about myself now. I'm not talking about anyone else. And it's absolutely with responsibility. I blame everyone. Niki, I blame it's just like, my ex-boyfriend, he took the most fertile years out of my life, we're really close friends, but I'm totally guilty of it too. But the point is, it's like, you are absolutely responsible, and then if you can't take that responsibility, then that's okay too, but just notice that and be like, no, I checked in. Then it's better to be like this, I don't want to take any responsibility, I'm just going to, it's at least be honest and hold that for yourself. I hear you. It's tough.
Smack, just a little smack in the face. Yeah. Anyways, I think we are almost at the end of this, and I want to just ask one last question. What is your best tip to make the world a better place?
Oh, really easy,
Yeah.
easy. Wait until the twilight sets in. Step into nature. Even if it's snow on the ground, take off your shoes. You're not going to die. If you step your feet into nature, it's not going to kill you. Sometimes it's wet, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's dry. But feel that. Feel the ground under your feet. Look at the light. Look how the light is shifting between day and night. When night sets in, you're going to see that again because the light becomes totally clear and it's just darkness. Sit there in the twilight and become aware of that that's also within you. It's just a flighty moment during these 24 hours that we have, who's ticking away, who then becomes our life. But sit in that and don't listen to what I ever said. Explore and experience what happened to you.
That is so
Something
beautiful. Like that. Something like that. That was perfect. I'm gonna going to do that. So I can go into the twilight quite early in the day here then.
Oh, listen, it's amazing. Yeah, it's just check what happened. I'm not going to say anything, but it's almost like the end of the day is the night is welcomed with this orchestra of all the birds. It's like all the living kind of um all the things that has life in the woods comes alive, even in the outskirts of a city. It's like all the birds kind of make noises to settle down in the trees. I love the twilight because it's such a flighty moment. It's that kind of liminal space. It's not day, it's not night, it's something else. I mean, if there is a other world or underworld, it's definitely the gateways through the twilight because it's non-distinct. And also our eyes become so a bit blurry in that blue light. We don't really see 30 something Danish curly hair. Everything gets a bit blurry, and in that blurriness I tend to see better. When I photograph people, I don't see their tattoos, I just see marks on the body, because actually what the tattoo says is not important. It's the breathing of the person, the space and the woods that matters to me. And I think for me, always going, you can be as crazy as you want, but as long as you got your feet placed in the moss or in the soil, you're all right. It's like when you lose hold of that, something happens.
I want you to take a picture of me now.
Oh, I would love to. You and Jens, maybe.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh, I would love that. So let me know. So in the end here, where can people find you? Because you are such an incredible woman, photographer, and and just in general, I just love your ideas and your thoughts about life. So where can people find you? And maybe do you do some more retreats?
So I I am Jannica Honey, and I obviously have a website who's not shadow banned because it's my website and I pay for it. So it's Jannica Honey. Or I do think when the blackbird sings underscore on Instagram is quite a nice connection to me in my work, because I do update every day and I talk in the stories about visceral diet, twilights, female bodies, male bodies, and life in general. And then I obviously have my Jannica Honey account as well on Instagram or TikTok, where I'm the visceral diet witch, I think. But also, if people have any questions, email jannica@jannicahoney.com.
Yeah.
I like when people get in touch. I think this is 2023. It's all about communication for reals,
Yeah.
Me and Wild Herbarista, Rebecca Tiger, was talking about having a retreat this summer. And to be honest, we're still looking for a space, but that might happen. So last year we had the Twilight retreat, which was all about the liminal space. So it's all about not betting ourselves, not changing anything, just sitting in, really figure out what this is all about, which is it could be something totally different for you than for me, but sharing that liminal space, sharing that twilight together. So our retreat back then was 2 different shoots, one in the evening and one in the morning, after sun gone down, just before sun went up, in nature. Loads of amazing exercises and sharing, and really trying to steer this ship in a different direction. I think even for women, it's all about bettering yourself and transforming and be your be your better self or something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, like a part of me really hates myself. I'm like, I'm never going to be good enough, and I think this is again detrimental for women. It's like, you don't need to change anything about yourself. You're you. And if something changes or transforms, then it will be, and it is going to, but you don't need to actively work on changing and bettering yourself all the time, because that means that you never like what you are at the present.
Oh, that's
And I
beautiful.
think again, do you know what I mean? It's like the whole world is kind of set up like that anyway, because it's all about improving. But what about like if the improving is just to be,
Yeah.
So it's a lot about that, and also talking about female gaze, have our inner eyes often. We're the holders of the guns that the patriarchal society is firing. We got the bullets for these kind of guns that is fired towards female bodies. So how to disarm that on the inside rather than the outside. I mean, if we look at each other like sisters and we make judgments on each other's bodies, we don't even need to get involved. We don't even need to get involved the guys or the kind of big businesses. The transformation in that sense happens here. So yeah, more retreats.
Yes, more
maybe
women's retreats. Maybe I hope we can get the place ready for summer, so we can have some retreats here, because we have a beautiful yoga barn pointing directly with the view on the forest, and then we want to have some tents we can sleep in. But we will see how. Sometimes you have a dream, and then you realize the road is a little bit longer than you thought in the first place. But we will get there. At least we here. It's beautiful. We have chickens. We have pigs. And we're going to grow a garden this year. So, yeah. But I would love to have you here. You're always welcome. We have a guest room. Thank you so much for showing up today.
So nice.